the feminine mystique. It defines woman solely in terms of her sexual relation to man, as man's sex object, as wife, mother, homemaker, and never in human terms as an individual person, as a human being herself.
When Betty Friedan published The Feminine Mystique, everyone was buzzing about women and their talents being neglected. Every time we'd been told, I'm sorry, we don't hire women, we thought, isn't it too bad there isn't an organization that can fight against that? In 1966, when they were founding Now, Betty Friedan asked me if I would do the public relations, and I said, sure.
I remember distinctly reading The Feminine Mystique by Betty Friedan, and I remember sitting on my parents' bed and talking to them about The Feminine Mystique and what I was reading and my feelings about it, and they were always very encouraging. But my father, remained a member of Now even after I wasn't a member of Now.
Dave and I bought the book The Feminine Mystique. Betty Friedan conceptualized what I had vaguely thought about, and she became my hero.
I have to really start with Betty Friedan. I really do. She was a lone voice out there. She was such a visionary. She saw that. She captured the moment. I remember calling her up all the time, Betty, I need a quote for my story. And she would just rattle off the most brilliant, concise, compelling.
Getting to be a feminist, Betty, was never easy for me. Deep in my psyche was your book. That book was so important to me. It still is very, very important to me, Betty. At the time, I could not afford it, but I bought 6 copies. I bought them for friends of mine, women friends, who were going down the wrong path. I wanted to offer them some kind of vision of what life really could be and should be for them. And there are a lot of young women who call me a role model. That means I'm old. I have referred that book to so many of those young women. I hear the same stories about their careers, about their relationships with the men, and Betty's got all the answers there. Please, those of you who have it, and everybody here certainly does have, open that book and read that last page. The last paragraph is awesome. It's powerful. So I tell these young black women, they're the answers. There they are. And I never anticipated that a white woman would become one of the people who influenced my life. Betty, I love you.
I remember going to hear Betty Friedan, who spoke at Cooper Union in 1963. I was 20 years old, and I was enthralled with her and just thought everything she said was magnificent.
I'll just tell you my memories. All I can tell you is that all day long I was busy doing events around the city. When I turned the corner at 57th Street, 5th Avenue, I couldn't believe what I saw. Thousands and thousands of women lined up.
On behalf of the unprecedented coalition of women that today has called this strike to confront the unfinished business of our equality, women young and old, women black and white, women students, women grandmothers who fought for the original right to vote.
And so many joined us, not only women, but men did. And we realized at that time that we were no longer a few kooky women that they made fun of, but we were a movement. And you cannot just plan a movement. It happens. It happens.
It means so much to all of us that Betty and the modern women's movement be honored and remembered by those who were there. How many of us heard Betty speak? She could hold a crowd riveted, whether she was with her words, whether she was speaking quietly in the living room in the Dakota to a small group very early on, or whether she was speaking thoughtfully in a college auditorium, or if she was speaking stridently in Bryant Park in the summer of 1970. But what truly honors Betty, and what has always honored her throughout her life, is people collecting, people coming together. It's all of you being here this evening together. And don't think for a minute that Betty's not here. She is. And all of the others who should be here, remembering and being remembered, are here with us in spirit also. Betty had a big and quite confusing personality. Her honesty, her stubbornness, her brilliance, her incisive perception, her ability to listen, her paranoia, her uncompromising will, her dramatic presence, her drama, her generosity, her lack of boundaries, her abandon, her eloquence, her strength, her ambition, her limitless energy, her ego, her power. It was this personality, rich and large and full of incongruity, that made her the inspiring and powerful leader she was. And with her own voice, she threw herself headlong into this public life, and she inspired, and she trailblazed, and she bulldozed through history. And with all of you, she changed the world. It's often said it would have happened with or without Betty. But I think not. I think someone more genteel, more polite, more politic, someone less arrogant and less strident, someone less temperamental wouldn't have been able to pull it off, and the world would be the worse for it. And Betty was part of it, and that is history, and that cannot be rewritten. Betty's not an icon or a hero because she was a nice person, though she had those moments too. She's a hero because of what everyone here did with her to change the world and to change individual lives, not just for middle-class America in 1965, but reverberating across race and class, across geography and time.
I want to reminisce a little. It's so moving to be here with so many who made it all happen. As you all know, I played a role as one among many, and I was maneuvered by a lot of you here into the position. In a certain sense, it was Pauli Murray. That's why I always get mad when people say the women's movement was started only by white middle-class women. I mean, Pauli Murray was the one that put the germ idea in my head. I had written The Feminine Mystique, and a lot of women had changed my life, and they were going back to school and going to work, but nothing was happening but a lot of talk on the women problem and all that. And the Status of Women Commissions had been set up, but nobody was taking it that seriously. And I read in the newspaper, Pauli Murray at Yale had given a talk to Women's Club and said, there is this law, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, sex discrimination in employment, and it's never going to be enforced unless women march on Washington the way the blacks have done. And I thought, oh wow, people don't know today what courage it took for the women that were in the establishment. You know, Virginia Allen, State Department of Nixon, Catherine East in the Women's Bureau, Mary Eastwood was in the Justice Department, Evelyn Cunningham was working for Governor Rockefeller, and when we decided we had to start the National Women's Political Caucus, I mean, Evelyn Cunningham did a lot, and her staff, you know. Dorothy Hayner in the UAW, I don't know if the president of the UAW ever knew that he was financing, you know, his office was financing the founding of NOW. But we had our differences. There were a lot of issues that we had to surmount and divide, but aren't you glad we did it? You know, how well we used our lives. How well we used our lives to a bunch of ordinary, not so ordinary American women, you know, doing the miracle of making political what had not been political before. And knowing all along, because we knew it, remember, we knew it when we did it, that first organizing meeting of NOW in Washington in October of '66, and Mary Eastwood knew that it was history that we were making, and she preserved the documents, you know, and I think they're around still. We knew that we were making history. I don't know how we knew it. We knew more than we knew we knew. We knew that though there were few of us at first, that we were speaking for the millions. And now we know that we did speak for the millions all over the world.
We'll pick our battles cause we know we're gonna win the war. We're not rattled cause we shattered all of this before. Steadier than steel cause we're ready with a shield and sword. Back on the saddle cause we've gathered all our strength for more. And we won't bow, we won't break. No, we're not afraid to do whatever it takes. We'll never bow, we'll never break. Cause we are warriors, we'll fight for our lives like soldiers all through the night, and we won't give up, we will survive. We are warriors, and we're stronger, that's why we're alive. We will conquer, time after time, we'll never falter. We will survive, we are warriors. We are warriors. Like Vikings, we'll be fighting through the day and night. We'll be marching through the darkness till the morning light. Even when it's harder, like the army, you will see us shine. No, we won't stop and we won't drop until the victory's ours. No, we won't bow, we won't break. No, we're not afraid to do whatever it takes. We'll never bow, we'll never break. Cause we are warriors, we'll fight for our lives like soldiers all through the night, and we won't give up, we will survive. We are warriors, and we're stronger, that's why we're alive. We will conquer, time after time, we'll never falter. We will survive, we are warriors. Oh, oh, you can't shoot us down, you can't stop us now. We've got a whole damn army. Oh, you can't break us down, you can't take us out. This'll be behind us. Warriors, we'll fight for our lives like soldiers all through the night, and we won't give up. We will survive. We are warriors.